I was sitting at the table when Marco said my mother's name. Not the one I'd memorized, not the one in my cover story, my real mother's name. He said it soft, like he was testing how it felt in his mouth. Then he looked at me, not at my eyes, but just past them, the way you look at something you're about to throw away. The boss didn't move, didn't even blink. He just kept buttering his bread, slow and methodical, while my heartbeat filled my skull like a drum. That was the moment I realized he already knew who I was. You have to understand something about Vincent Calabrese. He wasn't the kind of boss you see in movies, screaming, throwing chairs, putting bullets in foreheads to make a point. Vincent was quiet, terrifyingly quiet. He'd built an empire on patience. While other families tore themselves apart with paranoia and bloodshed, Vincent waited. He studied. He watched people make mistakes and then used those mistakes like currency. Getting close to him wasn't just rare, it was suicide. His inner circle was small, 5, maybe 6 people at most, and every single one of them had been with him for over a decade. No one got in, no one got out, and the few who tried, well, they didn't disappear in some dramatic way. They just stopped existing. No bodies, no witnesses, just silence. Vincent controlled people the way a conductor controls an orchestra. A look here, a pause there, a word spoken at exactly the right moment. He never had to raise his voice because everyone already knew what silence meant. And his reputation? It wasn't built on fear of what he would do, it was built on certainty of what he had done. That's what made him untouchable. The FBI had been after Vincent for 8 years. 8 years of surveillance, 8 years of wiretaps that caught nothing but weather small talk and bakery orders. 8 years of witnesses who suddenly couldn't remember, couldn't testify, couldn't be found. He was a ghost in a 3-piece suit. The problem wasn't evidence, it was access. You can't record what happens behind closed doors if you can't get through the door. And Vincent's doors didn't open for strangers. They barely opened for family. So the Bureau made a choice, a desperate one. They needed someone inside, not watching from a van, not listening through walls, inside, at the table, in the room where decisions were made. That's where I came in. 26 years old, clean record, no connections to organized crime, no history in New York, no reason for anyone to look twice at me. I was a blank slate, and that made me valuable. The plan was simple: build a cover, gain trust, get close, and feed information back until they had enough to move. What the FBI didn't realize was that Vincent Calabrese trusted patterns more than people, and I was about to become a pattern he didn't like. It took 3 weeks before I met Vincent. 3 weeks of running errands, moving packages, keeping my mouth shut and my eyes down. I did what I was told. I didn't ask questions. I became furniture. And then one night, Polly told me to get in the car. We drove to a restaurant in Carroll Gardens, one of those old places with red leather booths and waiters who'd been there since the 70s. The kind of place where the front door was locked and you had to knock. Vincent was in the back. He didn't stand when I walked in, didn't offer his hand, just gestured to the chair across from him with 2 fingers, and I sat. "You're Benny's cousin," he said, not a question. "Yes, sir." "Benny's a good kid, loyal." Vincent picked up his wine glass, swirled it once. "You loyal?" "I try to be. Trying's not the same as being." I didn't know what to say to that, so I said nothing. Vincent smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. Smart. I like that. Over the next few weeks, I got called in more often. Small things at first: deliver an envelope, pick up a package, sit in on a meeting and don't say a word. I was being tested, and I knew it. But the tests weren't what I expected. Vincent didn't ask me to prove myself with violence or risk. He asked me about my mother, my childhood, what I liked to eat. He remembered everything, and I mean everything. A passing comment I made about hating anchovies. 2 weeks later, he'd order pizza and make sure mine didn't have them. It felt like trust. But the way Marco and the others looked at me when Vincent wasn't around, that felt like something else. Conversations stopped when I entered rooms, silences stretched too long, and every time I left, I could feel eyes on my back like insects crawling under my shirt. The unease was constant, a low hum I couldn't shake, and then came the crack. It happened on a Thursday. Vincent called me into his office. Just him, no one else. He slid a piece of paper across the desk, an address in Queens. "I need you to check on something," he said. "There's a shipment coming in tomorrow night. I want to make sure the guys handling it aren't skimming." "You want me to watch them?" "I want you to be there. They don't know you yet. They'll act natural." It made sense. I took the address, memorized it, burned it like I was supposed to. That night, I broke protocol. I activated the wire for 30 seconds and whispered the location into my collar. Then I turned it off and prayed no one noticed the static. The FBI moved fast. Too fast. The next night, I showed up at the address. The shipment never came. But Vincent's guys were there, confused, pissed off, looking around like they'd been set up. Because they had. The information Vincent gave me was fake, a test, and the FBI's reaction confirmed what he already suspected. Someone was listening. When I got back to the restaurant, Vincent was waiting. He poured me a drink, didn't say a word about the shipment, just asked how my night was. "Quiet," I said. "Good. Quiet's good." But Marco wasn't there, and neither was Sal. By the end of the week, both of them were gone. Not dead, just gone. Reassigned, I was told. Sent to handle business in Florida. I didn't believe it, and that's when I realized Vincent wasn't trying to find the leak, he was isolating it. Vincent Calabrese didn't hunt traitors. He didn't need to. He just removed everyone around them until they had no one left to hide behind. Over the next 2 weeks, the inner circle shrank. Polly got pulled from my detail. Tony stopped answering my calls. Even the bartender who used to pour my drinks was replaced with someone new. I was still trusted, still called in from meetings, still given tasks, but I was alone. And Vincent? He watched, always watching, always 3 steps ahead. One night he told me a story. We were sitting in his office, just the two of us. He was looking out the window at the street below, hands folded behind his back. "You know what the hardest part of this life is?" he asked. I didn't answer. "Trust," he said. "You can buy loyalty, you can buy silence, but trust, that's something people either have or they don't. And the moment you give it to the wrong person," he turned to look at me, "everything falls apart." I felt my throat tighten. "You understand what I am saying?" "I think so." Vincent smiled. "Good, because I trust you." The words should have been a relief. Instead, they felt like a noose. The call came on a Sunday. "Come to the house," Vincent said. "Just you." No explanation, no context. I drove to Bay Ridge with my hands shaking on the wheel. The wire was back at my apartment. I'd stopped wearing it after the Queen setup. Too risky. But now I wished I had it, just in case. Vincent's house was quiet. No guards out front, no cars in the driveway. He answered the door himself. "Come in." The living room smelled like cigars and old wood. Vincent gestured to the couch, and I sat. He poured 2 glasses of scotch and handed me one. Then he sat across from me and said nothing. The silence stretched. 10 seconds, 20, a minute. Finally he spoke. "You ever been to Quantico?" My blood turned to ice. "No," I said. My voice sounded hollow. Vincent nodded slowly. "Funny, because someone I know saw a guy who looks just like you there 2 years ago." I didn't move, didn't breathe. Said he was part of a training class, young recruits, future agents. Vincent took a sip of his drink. "You know anything about that?" "No." He smiled. "You're a good liar, I'll give you that." The room felt like it was shrinking. Vincent leaned forward. "Here's the thing. I don't care if you're FBI. I don't care if you're wearing a wire. I don't even care if they're listening right now." He set his glass down. Because they already lost. Vincent didn't kill me. He didn't have to. He let me walk out of that house, told me I was free to go, said I'd done good work, and he appreciated the effort. 2 days later, the FBI pulled me out. They debriefed me for hours, wanted to know what went wrong, what I said, what Vincent knew. He passed it along, watched the FBI scramble, used me to map their response times, their priorities, their limitations. I wasn't a spy, I was a test, and Vincent passed with flying colors. The case fell apart. No evidence, no witnesses, no charges. Vincent Calabrese walked free. And me? I resigned 3 months later. I still see his face sometimes, that calm smile, that patient, knowing look. I think about what he said, that trust is the hardest part. He was right. The FBI thought they sent a spy into the Mafia. What they really sent was proof that trust is always the weakest link. And in Vincent's world, weakness doesn't survive.